here's the deal about the film noir paper. This course welcomes students of all different backgrounds in terms of prior writing experiences. I have everyone in this course from students who have traditionally not been very successful with writing to kids that are in AP. So part of what I try to do with the first paper is use it as a diagnostic. I want to know how comfortable you are writing in English. So in order to find out how comfortable you are writing in English, I provide a ridiculous amount of support for the first paper, at least in terms of the structure, hoping that takes one of the variables out of the equation. So what is available online through homesteadfilm.com, and what you'll see up here on the screen is a step-by-step, literally a sentence-by-sentence breakdown of what I expect to be on this paper. Now, if you're looking at this and you're thinking, wow, this is just way too much help. I mean, this makes it way too easy. That's fine. There are some students that haven't had as much practice in writing as others, and a reminder about the typical structure of an English paper in this school is helpful. And so this is more help than you're going to get on anything else in this course. But basically what you see here represented by this sentence by sentence list of expectations is a 3-paragraph essay. And you should know that a 3-paragraph essay begins with a thesis statement, followed by a topic sentence, and then in that topic sentence you're going to indicate the areas or the ideas that you're going to discuss in the rest of the paragraph. All right, think of this paper as your attempt to define film noir by taking 3 different traits. Each paragraph will be a different trait. By taking 3 different traits of film noir and showing how they exist in the 2 films we watch in class. We're going to watch The Big Sleep, and we're going to watch Chinatown in class. From these 2 films, you're going to pull 3 traits that recur in both, or that occur in both of these films. So you're looking for overlap. A moment in this film when you see a good definition of femme fatale, a moment in this film when you see a good definition of femme fatale, then use that to build the definition of what a femme fatale is. But then, the real purpose of the paper is to prove that a film you choose, that you pick on your own, for example, maybe the Maltese Falcon, that is you've been told is film noir, you're going to prove it actually is film noir by making clear that the same trait that you see in these 2 films exists in this one as well. So the layout of each paragraph is pretty similar. It's a topic sentence that defines the trait. Then the statement that that trait exists in The Big Sleep, and an example of a scene in the film where you can see that trait exhibited. A statement that tells you that the trait also exists in Chinatown, and then a scene from the film that proves that it actually exists there. Then a transition. And the transition's important because the transition's going to signal that we're going to move from the 2 films that are our givens, our 2 films that are our models, and we're going to go to the film that's the unknown. And that transition is going to say, look, that same trait that defines film noir, as we've defined by the viewing of these 2 films, also exists in this film, therefore this film is film noir as well. That's the purpose of the paper. Now, knowing that's the purpose of the paper, your thesis statement has to say that. Your thesis statement has to say, film noir is defined by these 3 traits, and because the classic film noirs, Chinatown and The Big Sleep, have them, and this film has them as well, this film is film noir. You need to construct a sentence that says, you're going to prove this is film noir by matching the 3 traits of film noir, A, B, and C, to the 2 films that we've watched in class that we know are film noir. Now, that means you're going to have to choose a film that many people consider to be film noir and then prove that it is. Now, how do you pick that film? Well, we'll talk about that in a little more detail when we start talking about the specifics of the paper, but essentially, go online, type in film noir, go to Wikipedia. While Wikipedia isn't always a valid source, it'll give you a list of titles of films that are considered film noir. And if you're starting to think about it already, or if you want to start thinking about it already, here's my tip for you. Film noirs from the 40s and 50s are going to be more obviously film noir than film noirs from the 90s, 2000s. And that's because the genre evolves as it's repeated decade after decade after decade. And sometimes the evolution of the genre isn't as clearly film noir as the originals. Now, that being said, there are plenty of 90s and 2000s film noirs that are very easily identified as film noir. But your whole trick is to be able to match the overlap in these two films, the traits that you see in these two films, to traits in the third film that you're going to choose on your own. If you have questions about this paper, just like with anything else, make sure you email. And also, I'm going to offer, again, that if you want help with your paper before it's due, I'll sit down with you and work with you as many times as necessary to get this paper to be the grade you want it to be. But that offer stops on the day it's due. On the day it's due, I'm not available to look at rough drafts. I'm not available to look at anything about your paper. But the day before, the week before, we can sit down and work on this as many times as you want. And like I said at the beginning of the class, if we start working on your paper a few days before it's due and it's still not at the point where you're satisfied with it on the due date, we'll push the due date, just so that you have an opportunity to turn in something that is going to earn you the grades you want, that is going to reflect the fact that you've actually grown a bit as a writer, that you understand the assignment, you understand how to write.